Thank you very much for making a date on the marketplace. Welcome back. Now to our very first story. The IMF has welcomed measures being instituted by government to stabilize the economy. This was contained in a statement issued by the IMF staff after it rounded up its information gathering visit to Ghana. We have details in this report.
The fund in the statement was, however, raising issues with revenue after data suggested it underperformed the first 4 months of this year. It also noted available fiscal data suggests an increase in government spending, mainly due to front-loading of capital spending and goods and services. On the banking sector, the IMF warned some banks are still not adequately capitalized, was raising non-performing loans as the biggest threat to the stability of the banking sector. The fund noted that the recent challenges with the cedi will be addressed if fiscal consolidation continues, while strengthening foreign exchange management to help foster a deeper and more liquid FX market. Discussions focused on recent economic development and the outlook for the rest of the year, and an assessment of Ghana's performance to date under the IMF-supported program.
Now, the economy recorded significant growth for the first quarter of this year. Figures released by the Ghana Statistical Service post the year-on-year growth rate, including oil, at 6.8%. George Rafe was there for Joy Business and has joined me here in the studio for some more details. George, welcome to the marketplace.
Thank you so much.
Now, tell us, what were the drivers for this growth?
If you go through what the Statistical Service has given us in terms of data, industry did the trick again in terms of mining and quarry. We're looking at about more than 28% contributing to this growth. Also, the fact that when you look at the subsector and the industry, oil production also did the trick for us again. It looks like there were more economic activities under the sector, and that is why growth shot up to 6.8% for the first quarter of this year. Now, what the service is doing is that let's look at the first 3 months of this year, economic activities that are taking place compared to the same quarter in 2017, and that is why we are seeing that 6.8%, what in economic terms they'll say the year-on-year growth. But if you also want to backtrack a little bit and look at the quarter-on-quarter, so let's restrict ourselves to just the first 3 months of 2018. In terms of growth, you did about 1.5%. Don't be confused. But if you also look at that number and compare to those same quarters in the previous years, you would want to make an argument that growth has somewhat slowed. Even though we are recording a positive number, the rate of increase has slowed down. Several reasons can be attributed to that. The performance of the agri sector was one, and also other financial service sector was also another contributing factor. And we engaged the Statistical Service try and get more understanding about what is happening to our agri sector despite all the policy measures, and also for the fact that indeed is growth slowing and what were the drivers there. Bawa, he is the acting government statistician, and let's try and watch him and what he has to say on that one.
All right, so it looks like we don't have him currently. But what about the quarter, the sectors, the individual sectors of the economy?
So, yes, a lot of sectors. So, let's look at the sector on sector in terms of growth as well. Agri did 2.8%. Let's come to industry, did 7.3%. And also services as well did 5.2%. So, in terms of how these sectors fared, having a lot of activities, these are the numbers that you want to look at. And that is why we are saying that there were a lot of activities in the industry sector, and that is why it helped push growth by 6.8% compared to the same period in 2007.
Now, looking ahead, what do we expect when you do this analysis here?
Well, looking ahead, if you want to extrapolate, then look at 1.5 every quarter. You know the numbers and where you're going to get at the end of the year. But there's always this argument that the first quarter of the year, things are not that good because things are now picking up in terms of putting the final numbers together and all those things. So if you even want to extrapolate or forecast 1.5 growth for first quarter, it still might not be good to make a good judgment on how things will be by the end of the year. So it looks like if oil is going to grow and the expectation that there will still be a lot of activities in the oil sector. The fact that we are expecting new fields, Sankofa oil field is coming aboard, and all those things. And all these economic activities will be captured in terms of measuring GDP. Then it looks like we are out for some exciting times in terms of the economy doing so well. One would ask that, and so what? If these economics are taking place, or these things are taking place in the economy, it has an impact on revenue. Okay. If more activities are taking place and those things can be captured in terms of revenue and all those things, it would have an impact on revenue. At the time that we are talking about the fact that revenue might not be doing that well. So if growth is picking up, then that might be a good sign in terms of revenue. If the economy is also expanded than what government has projected, it gives some sign to investors that the economy might be bigger than we all thought. So if I bring in some capital, of course, it might be good.
All right, so looks like we have the acting government statistician, Ba Wadie. Now let's get him share his thoughts on these numbers.
Agricultural production. So I believe that subsequently in the course of the year, the figures could pick up. That is, we would measure and find out whether the activities like planting for food, is it food and jobs? See, for this quarter, it's more for agriculture. It's more of the clearing and the planting. So you won't see much production. I hope you understand. So that we have to wait in the course of the year. When harvest is due, we can measure better.
Are we seeing industry's performance being sustained, or going forward it will be a performance that will be sustained, that it could again even structurally overtake the other sectors, for us to even see that we are inching towards an industry-led economy, or still services sector will have the hold on the economy?
For this quarter, the quarter figures that we have just released, services had a share of GDP of about 60.6%. We had industry a share of about 25 plus, and agriculture 11 plus, almost 12. These are the shares that we have now. The share of services is still huge. The share of the GDP is still substantial. More than half of the GDP is accounted for by services. And the rest is industry comes second, and then agriculture comes third.
Do you think that we've gotten to the stage where we can call ourselves as a service-led economy? I mean,
currently that is what is leading the economy. That is what is.
So that is what we can call ourselves.
Yes, but we have the contribution of industry, particularly oil.
And that was the acting government statistician, Ba Wadie, sharing his thoughts on the new GDP figures which have been released. But George, before you go, what does these figures mean for the ordinary Ghanaian?
I mean, you want to look at the sectors that are growing, or the growth sectors. And yes, it's good, oil is good, but does it employ a larger chunk of the population? You want to look at agric. So if a sector is growing, which sectors are growing? What are the growth areas? And therefore, you can make a judgment that, okay, economy is growing, but is it a job growth economy, and how would it impact on the ordinary person? It looks like if it's oil sector, then little impact might be felt in terms of sectors that can generate the right jobs and also improve disposable incomes of the normal person for us to feel the real impact. Oil is good, but the argument is that we won't feel it that much in terms of us feeling it and the real
maybe in your
impact
pockets.
on
That's
the normal person
says.
out on the street.
Thank you very much,
Thank
George.
you so much.
And we'll certainly bring you some more analysis on these latest figures in our subsequent bulletins. Moving on, the ranking member of Parliament's Finance Committee, Ato Forson, has confirmed that government is indeed working to introduce and increase taxes in the mid-year budget review. Joy Business report that the VAT rate could be going up significantly as well as other taxes. George Egriafi again has more in this report.
Speaking to Joy Business after the Finance Committee met the visiting IMF team, Mr. Forson said documents seen suggest Ghanaians are going to pay more in terms of taxes, but promise everything will be done to stop its imposition.
The concerns are there. There are serious concerns.
What are some of them?
Some of the concerns, the fact that they are going to impose taxes on the ordinary Ghanaian. Okay, in the coming days, minority is going to engage the public on the matter because imposing a tax of 0.5% of GDP, of about GDP in excess of 200 billion, we are talking of a tax base requirement of about $1 billion plus. The IMF document has given us some hints what the government intends to do. We are going to review in the coming days. I don't really want to preempt.
Let's talk about but increasing from 17.5%.
There is a possibility. There's a possibility that they are going to bring back VAT on financial services. That is a fact. Okay.
What about VAT?
Value-added tax going to go up and others. We are still more watching and monitoring. Don't forget that this is a government that promised all of us that they are going to move away from taxation to production. So we are watching closely. This is the first meeting. We are going to evaluate the situation in the coming days, and we will be having the opportunity to engage the public.
What about the issue about SNITs as well, issue about syntax, tax on luxury vehicles as well? Did all these issues come up?
So in those taxes are things that we've heard. In fact, some of us, we've read it months even before this meeting. So, and we know they are coming. The taxes are coming in. So I can only say that Ghanaians should brace ourselves for new taxes. We should brace ourselves for imposition of taxes.
Chair of Parliament Finance Committee, Dr. Marcus Sibeyeboa, however, tells Joy Business is not aware of these specific levies going up, but said there might be the need for these taxes to be reviewed.
We are not policy makers, we are legislators, so we don't determine policy here. Okay, so I've also heard last 2 weeks we engaged the finance minister. I've heard that there are new revenue measures. As to what is coming in, I don't know. But don't you think health insurance, for instance, should be increased to save the national health insurance scheme? That's a fair tax to be introduced. Okay, health insurance is reeling, and I think there should be some increase in the national health insurance levy to sustain health insurance. I think that's a fair one. So let's see the tax measures, if any, that are coming in. If it has to be supported, I would do so.
But Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has told Joy Business that the proposed tax measures are still being discussed, and government is yet to take a firm decision on the way forward. He has maintained that the media review will rather look at how they can use the various measures to plug the loopholes in revenue mobilization as well as improve compliance.
Now, today is the United Nations Day of Micro, Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises, MSMEs. The MSMEs are enterprises which generally employ fewer than 250 persons around the world. According to the UN, which it is the backbone of most economies and play a key role in developing countries. But the chairman of CMA Investments Holdings, which includes CNBC Africa, Forbes Africa, and Lancaster University in Ghana, among others, Rakesh Washi, in an interview with Joy Business editor Norvan Akwa-Hayford at his head office in Dubai, shares some ideas on how to begin small and getting the right investors.
You know, there's truth in this belief that capital is required because most startups fail because they're undercapitalized. So let's go with the understanding that money is a very important ingredient into business. But it's also about building credibility because people trust you and they start putting money to back you only after you've built a certain amount of a track record. So a lot of youngsters these days want to put the cart before the horse. They want to raise, millions and millions of dollars because of what they see happening in the US, and believe that they can turn billion-dollar companies, but they're different markets. So I think if you take it at a step at a time, every business should be modular. It should be structured in a way that it can grow, but start small so that the exposures are small. And as you get the small wins, you'll start achieving, your goals. And once you achieve goals, money automatically follows it. So money follows success. So to answer your question, we had a very small capital base in our operation in Sri Lanka. We had invested a total of about $50,000 in working capital. and we required some bank guarantees that had to be given to Microsoft, and that's where we started from.
So for you, what would you tell the young ones who are looking to start businesses as well, and they think that yes, capital is quite important? Would you say, look, you know what, it doesn't matter how much you have, you've got to be able to start something, or wait until you have that $1 million and then you start that company that you are dreaming of?
I think people who have an entrepreneurial frame of mind will never worry about the capital. People have started off in their garages, they've started off in their living rooms, they start in their studios. So don't worry about when you for the timing is very important, and I think when you're young you should be able to take those risks, and I don't think you should worry about the paraphernalia that follows some of these investments, because a lot of youngsters that I found, and this is particularly true in Africa, is they want to have the high life first and then they worry about the business later, and they want to get the millions of dollars, and the first impact of the investments is seen in their personal lives. They have better cars and they have better homes to live in, but that's not the way you do it. Business is long term. You've got to look 30, 40, 50 years ahead of you and say, look, I'm going to build an organization and a company that is going to last in perpetuity. And when you put your thoughts around that, you'll find that everything grows steadily. So the idea is, if you have an entrepreneurial frame of mind, well, that's the time to start. And it's not about how much capital you'll be able to raise, because the ideas will attract money if you're successful. And success follows hard work, having the right product, putting a lot of time and effort into what you're building. It's a 24/7 life for an entrepreneur. And that's what they need to focus on, is work hard.
I see. So in working hard, how did you ensure that the capital or the profits that you made as you moved on was used properly? Because I'm looking at the micro, medium, small businesses. A lot of them looking at, growing to become these multinational or large businesses that we look at. But a lot of the times in the African side, these businesses will tell you that yes, we are not able to thrive due to some challenges, and then also, the environment is not very good for us. How should these people go about their business to ensure that they can reach where you have reached, where you have a chain of businesses, if I'll put it?
Well, I guess the issue of capital and deployment of capital is a very important aspect. And what we've done, and this is where I think your partners play a very important role. Your partners and shareholders should have a similar vision as yours. The number one goal is to build the business and not look at personal wealth or personal agendas. Because if you're able to redeploy your capital and your earnings back into business, you're able to grow it.
Now, away from that, Ghana's dream of becoming a net exporter of coffee beans may seem remote, but entrepreneur Ivy Were is taking gradual steps towards creating a market here in Ghana. She started Cafe Magnifico, her own brand of organic coffee, and the Joy Business Van takes a trip to her production center at Hacho in Accra.
It's been a year since Ivy Were started coffee production. The young entrepreneur ventured into this after her clothing export business to Turkey failed.
I'm somebody who speaks a lot about my problems, issues. Like if I have a problem, if I have a question, if I meet anybody for the first conversation, first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I ask, do you know this? Because I like to learn every day. So I kept asking a few people, and then someone told me, yes, Ghana has coffee. Why don't you trade in that with the people? Because they drink coffee there. That's their culture. Every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, after every meeting, after every food, they are either drinking their tea or coffee.
The eager Ivy latched onto the idea and began her research into Ghana's coffee industry.
All right, so you get the full story this evening on Business Live with a repeat on the Marketplace tomorrow. And that's it for the Marketplace today. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. Have a good afternoon.